Starbase continues to push forward towards an early access release. With more featured videos and further news, today we're going to be discussing one topic you guys have mentioned to me quite a lot. Hey everyone, my name is Captain Jack and welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking more about Starbase, but specifically I wanted to take some time to answer the question of, can you play it? What I mean by this question is, your PC, can you actually play the game when it comes to early access? I'll be discussing system requirements and how further game optimization might play into this and improve your chances of playing when the time comes. Before I do dive straight in, if you are looking to play Starbase when it comes out and want to join my faction within the game, then you can do so from today. To join Redwood, which is my faction name, simply join my community Discord below, navigate to the Starbase channel in the server and claim your free Starbase rank to show your allegiance. It even comes in a nice colour. We're currently sitting at around 500 members and would love for more of you to come and join us. I hope to see more of you there. Okay, let's discuss the system requirements of Starbase. Many of you have mentioned to me that the requirements to run the game are quite high compared to other video games you might play. Now there are a variety of reasons for this, but before we discuss those reasons, I'm going to share the requirements with you. You can see on screen now or listen here. The requirements are as follows: a 64-bit processor and operating system, standard for most video games, Windows 10 or 7, processor-wise, an Intel i7 6700K or an AMD Ryzen 7 is recommended. Now the recommended amount of RAM is 16GB, you might be able to get away with 12, but they do recommend 16, which is quite large. Graphics card is advised to have an Nvidia GTX 1060 for minimum, but a 1080 Ti at 11GB is the recommended spec. AMD wise, a Radeon RX Vega 8 is what advised if you're on the AMD side of things. That is the key specs. Obviously an internet connection and a hard drive space is required, but everyone have those. I mean, without internet, how are you watching this video? Or thinking of playing an MMO game? Anyway, moving on. You may be thinking, Jack, those are the recommended system requirements, and you'd be correct. The minimum requirements of Starbase are not much, with the GTX 1060 being the only hardware component really mentioned. Before you panic thinking you can't run the game, it's worth mentioning that these system requirements are based off of the systems that the developers currently work on. Frozenbyte have mentioned that they plan to revise the requirements of the game when it gets closer to early access. So if you are worried about not being able to run the game, then check back on the Steam page closer to release. The good thing about early access and closed alpha phases of development is it gives the developers more information to work with. Nearly every player's computer will be slightly different in some way. So therefore, once these players start messing around in Starbase, there will be a lot more information to work with, to base the minimum and recommended requirements off of. As mentioned, the developers only have their own work systems to go off at the moment, so when it comes around, they'll have more information to work with. But one of the developers did mention that most in-house computer systems are closer to being an Intel i5 8600 series and packing an Nvidia GTX 1060 graphics card, which is good to hear. Just for a quick comparison, a 1060 graphics card can be related to similar 970 and 980 cards, though that is kind of stretching it a bit. Now as the devs have mentioned, the closer to early access, the better the requirements will get. I'll cover this once again when we do get close to early access, so if you've got any questions, I'll include the Starbase FAQ document in the description, but also feel free to ask away in the comments and I'll try and answer as many as I can. The key thing is, you're most likely going to be able to play this game at certain points, but obviously to start off with early access, you're probably going to need a good high-end system at least, or at least a very good mid-tier system. Now one thing I wanted to touch on quickly was game optimization. The reason for this is because it does build in the fact of playing the game on different systems. As the game development of Starbase processes through early access and onto release, you'll see several instances of optimization within the game. This is, standard video game practice. Therefore making certain things easier for computer systems to handle, i.e. giant combat and stuff. What I'm trying to say is, if you have a bit of a hard time running Starbase at the very start, and you don't want to upgrade your PC, consider holding back and waiting till the game gets more optimized and that comes into play. That being said, Frozenbyte will optimize Starbase at their own discretion, so you might have a bit of a long wait. Obviously it's something that will happen, the question comes down to when it will happen. I predict at the start of early access we won't see much in the terms of optimization, but as the phase of development goes on, we'll gradually see more and more improvements, therefore making it easier to run for some people. If you're taking part in the eventual closed alpha, should that occur, or playing the early access, remember that giving feedback to the developers when they ask for it will help improve the game. You may think it doesn't, but seriously it does. What I'm trying to say is if we all pitch in, we can help make Starbase a game that's even better than what it's intended to be. So far, Frozen Byte have shown that they love listening to the community, therefore I'm sure they'll be happy to listen to community feedback on certain aspects of the game, especially when it comes to having more players be able to access it through better system requirements and game optimization. Now, if you did not see, I did have a chance to sit down with the Starbase developers for an interview to ask them questions about the game. We spoke about a range of things from how development of the game came to be, the system requirements, gameplay goals, and more. If you want to watch, there is a link in the description below. Some of you asked further questions in the comments of the video, so I'm going to try and answer some of them today based off information I've managed to research from the developers and Starbase materials. One player asked, can you save materials, essentially storing them so they're safe? Great question, and according to the developers, there will be some sort of bank system to store your items. This may come in the form of a station stash that will obviously be located on stations, so you'll be able to store items there to keep them safe from yourself or others. Building into that, as I know many of you ask, ship insurance is a thing. This can be taken out on your ship, so you can get it back should it be totaled or blown up. I expect more details on the insurance system once the game gets closer to early access. Meanwhile, one of you fantastic people asked about the idea of safe zones as a way to protect stations, builds, or even trading hubs. From what I can gather, and from what one of the developers mentioned, there will be safe zones around the starting areas, so you're not going to be killed immediately on spawning into the Starbase world. You'll be able to trade and do a level of building in this zone, but going out to mine asteroids will be at your own risk. Personally, I'm okay with this, as spending an infinite amount of time in a safe zone would be super boring for me, but do let me know your opinions down below in the comments. Now, on the idea of player or faction-made safe zones, the developers mentioned that it's a complex system that's still being worked out at the moment. The idea of factions teaming up to form their own safe zones and then build them might be coming into play. Again, this is still a big work-in-progress idea and feature, so take it with a pinch of salt. As I always mention, Starbase is an in-development game, therefore things could change at a later date. Do keep that in mind. On the idea of faction safe zones, I'm in mixed feelings to be honest with you. Yes, they'll have their advantages for trading and safe building, but what about when it comes to combat? Players could just hide in them and therefore spoil the effect of battle in the long run. One idea I did like is the idea of safe zone meeting places. Essentially like a neutral meeting point for where factions can meet and discuss trade deals, alliances, or even do trading between each other without the risk of being blown up or killed. I'm interested in your opinions on this subject, so please comment them down below, as I'd love to get some good feedback about this and see what you all think about it. Let's talk about the moon. As mentioned in my interview with the developers, was the challenge of getting to the moon inside Starbase. Yes, some of you heard that it might take 20 days to get to the moon in the game world. Now I'm not sure if that's 20 in-game days or 20 IRL days. Either way, it's going to be a while. But to be honest, I expect it to be 20 IRL days, given that an in-game day is only around about 2 hours of our time. Kinda sure. From further research, it looks like the idea on challenge of getting to the moon is being set up by the developers as some giant task for the entire player base as a whole. The developers have mentioned that reaching the moon and landing on it will be a huge objective of the entire player base of Starbase, which I find really cool and can't wait to see how this happens. Imagine if factions working together to get an expedition fleet on the move to land on the moon. Should the idea the developers have come true, I really can't wait to see how it takes place. I know I'll be ready and waiting for my faction to set off on this great challenge. The question is, will you be joining us? I can't wait to see some people's creative solutions on how to get to the moon. Will you be firing yourself in a one-man ship, or taking a whole expedition fleet? I know what I'm doing. Well, this is all I have on Starbase today. Hopefully I've given you some good information to work with. But if you have any further questions, please do ask away in the comments. Make sure to provide your feedback on some of my questions as well, as I'm really curious on what your opinions on certain topics are. If you'd like me to cover Starbase, ask away with some questions in the comments. I'll make a video potentially covering what you've asked. On a separate note, thank you so much for enjoying my Starbase coverage so far. It's a pleasure to be talking about this new game with you. I'm personally super excited for Starbase. I think it's going to be a great game and a fantastic new space sci-fi sandbox MMO, which I am definitely going to spend a lot of time playing in. I've had the privilege of speaking to a few of you via Discord about your excitement with the RWI faction and such, and I'm glad many of you want to come into Starbase and have fun with me and just play and enjoy the game together. Once again, a massive thank you to the Starbase developers and the Frozen Byte crew for sitting down with me to discuss all things Starbase. Hopefully we can get another developer interview closer to early access at some point, and hopefully we do get some details on early access. I mean, we are chugging along through this year, we're in the 7th month now. We're counting down towards Christmas in a way, or towards the end of the year, or some of us are, so hopefully we're going to get details on early access. But one point I wanted to make and reiterate is it's good that they do not provide a date for early access just yet, and you may be thinking, Jack, what the hell are you on about? We want a date. Well, yes, I agree, I'd like to know when early access is coming, but at the same time, it's good for the developers not to lock themselves to a specific date. If they did, and then say they missed that date, we'd all be upset and very angry. Well, some people would be very angry, I'd be understanding. But you can see that they don't want to build that image of them failing behind or falling behind and, it not looking as good as it is. So for them just to say 2019 means once they have a hard grasp on if Starbase is ready, they can say bang, August 2019. That's just an estimate, by the way, it's not coming in August. I hope not anyway, that'd be pretty freaky. Hopefully not while I'm on holiday. Anyway, once again, you're all invited and welcome to come join my Starbase community via my Discord server. I can't wait to see more of you there with us. In the meantime, I've been Captain Jack. Thank you for watching this video on Starbase. If you're looking to keep up to date with the game, then make sure to subscribe and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.